Round 2, Xavier Barsalou-Duval tells Canada Transport Minister Omar Alghabra that air passenger regulations that apply to airlines should also be applied to government agencies. Again, Omar never blames government. Here's the clip.
Air passenger protection regulations that apply to airline companies should also apply to the government and government agencies. This would enable us to make sure that passengers will be compensated when they have cancelled or delayed flights due to mismanagement or incompetence from the federal government. This would prevent maybe a culture of impunity because right now there are no consequences to the government not taking care of issues or solving problems. Do you envisage applying these regulations to the federal side as well?
Mr. Chair, these regulations are done to protect passengers who enter into a commercial agreement with airlines to receive a service that they paid for. Governments, citizens are always able to hold governments accountable through their members of parliament, through elections, through various means. But passengers, for the longest time, had no recourse to ensure that airlines that they paid money to are able to provide the service that they paid for. That's the intention of these regulations. Is there an opportunity for us to continue to improve it? Sure, I am happy to work with my colleagues on figuring out how we can improve these regulations, but they're intended to protect passengers who enter into a commercial contract with airlines so they receive the service that they paid for.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. This is a bit interesting because consumers have no recourse when flights are cancelled or delayed because of the government. So we are imposing rules and standards to companies, but the government isn't applying the same standards. It's a question of being coherent. So we can also talk about leaked documents that show that Air Canada has asked its staff to lie to passengers about the reasons for flight cancellations in order not to pay compensation. So even if the consumers actually complain, there's a backlog of 18,000 complaints, so their complaints will not be treated right away. So consumers associations are actually asking consumers to go to courts directly, bypassing this entity. So this organization is supposed to be the watchdog of passengers' rights, but it's completely inefficient. What do you think about this? A very short response, Minister, if possible.
Mr. Chair, the CTA is an independent quasi-judicial body that is adjudicating these complaints independently. I can assure you that I have confidence in their ability to do their work and that our government will continue to assist them to ensure that they have the resources they need to protect passengers. I understand that recently the CTA issued a ruling that labor shortage could not be claimed as safety matter. So the CTA looks at individual complaints and adjudicates them based on the circumstances and the evidence before it.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Ministre.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. Thank you, Mr. Barsalou-Duval. Next up.
The floor is yours. You have 2.5 minutes.